So you've seen a video about how to create equivalent fractions, but sometimes, and those were fractions that were all in the same, the families, like the one denominator would easily go into another denominator. But you don't always have that when you're adding and subtracting fractions. Sometimes you have denominators that are not going to easily be multiplied by something to go into the other denominator. For example, in this one, they're asking you to add 3/5 plus 5/6, and you say, okay, well, I just make this 5 into the 6, but wait a second, I can't. 5 cannot be multiplied by something and equal 6. So in this case, you're going to need to what's called cross multiply. So in order to do that, basically, you're just going to take, remember, you're trying to find something that you can multiply this by, and something you can multiply this by to get a common denominator. You have to have a common denominator before you can add or subtract fractions. So in this case, we're not actually going to do the addition and subtraction. I'm going to let the next video talk about that more. But in this case, we're just going to say, how can we set this up so we're ready to add those fractions? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this denominator and we're going to multiply it by this denominator. So 5 times 6, and we know that 5 times 6 is going to be the same thing as 6 times 5. So if we did both of these things, we would end up with a common denominator. So 5 times 6, you know, is 30, and of course, so is 6 times 5. Now, do you remember that rule that whatever you do to the denominator, you must also do to the numerator? It still applies. So in this case, you multiply the denominator by 6, so you're going to have to multiply the numerator by 6, which is 3 times 6 is 18. In this case, we multiply the denominator by 5, so what are we going to have to do to the numerator? Oh yeah, we got to multiply that by 5 as well. So this becomes 25. Now you do the same thing. You add 18 plus 25, now that you have a common denominator, and go through all of that to finding your answer. But right now I just want to talk about how to find those common denominators. So let's do one more together, and then we'll do one as a practice problem where you'll try it on your own and then pause the video and come back. So in this one, we're going to do 3/4 plus 9/10. Now again, you say, okay, I could do this, I can see, can I make 4? No, I can't do that, so I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to multiply this one by 10, and I'm going to multiply this one by 4, because I know that 4 times 10 is the same as 10 times 4. That would give me a common denominator. So what is 4 times 10? It's 40. And of course, that is the same as 10 times 4. I haven't checked in on you in a while, but I know you're writing this down, right? If you're not, pause it so you can catch up. All right, so remember the rule that whatever you did to the denominator, you also have to do the numerator. It still is the same. We multiply this denominator by 10, which means we need to multiply this numerator by 10. 3 times 10 is 30. If we multiply this denominator by 4, we've got to multiply this numerator by 4. 9 times 4 is 36. Okay, so now we know that we are just going to add 30 plus 36. We'd end up with 66, 66 40ths. We'd have to convert into a mixed number and all that jazz. But this is how you would set it up to be ready to add. All right, this next one you're going to write down, and then you're going to pause it and try and do it by yourself. Remember, I'm not asking you to add the whole thing. I'm not asking you to then convert it to a mixed number. I'm just asking you to set it up with a common denominator. So two fractions with the same denominator that you can then would be ready to add. All right, let's try 5/6 this time. And we're going to do plus 4/11ths. So go ahead and write that down and then pause it and then press play when you're ready to check and see if you got it right. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to do it. And we're going to say, okay, I need to multiply this 6 by 11 and this 11 by 6 because I'm finding a common denominator. And I know that 6 times 11 is the same as 11 times 6. So 6 times 11 is 66. And 11 times 6 is 66. So what's the rule? Say it with me. Whatever you do to the denominator, you must also do to the numerator. Awesome. So I multiplied this denominator by 11. I'm going to have to multiply this numerator by 11. 5 times 11 is 55. Again, I multiplied this denominator by 6, so I have to multiply this numerator by 6. 4 times 6 is 24. So you should have gotten 5556 plus 2466. So hopefully you did that. All right, now you're ready to do those steps that you have learned before.